Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. I am Nada Badruddin from Forest Research Institute Malaysia. Today I am privileged to be given this chance to share with you on the study I did for my PhD, which is to understand the ecological and conservation requirements of the fireflies in Malaysian landscape. In general, this research was set up based on knowing the limited information we have of the fireflies in Malaysia. Although they are very charismatic organism, their information is still limited. And therefore, my research is focused to understand on the impacts of logging or timber extraction to fireflies. And as we are so limited in the information of fireflies in Malaysia, I also focused to conduct a rapid assessment of firefly species diversity in multiple habitat, and this was achieved by sampling along elevational gradients of Malaysian forests. Therefore, from this study, we were able to identify the habitat characteristic that moderate the species richness and diversity of the Malaysian fireflies. We were also able to identify the possible effects of logging history and what changes occur in the area on the Malaysian fireflies, and finally the beta diversity of fireflies along different forest type across elevation was also identified. Before I proceed to share the study approach and the findings, let me first introduce you to the fireflies, the logging towards species recovery and species diversity across elevation. So for fireflies, there are over 2,000 species of fireflies that are known to exist around the world. They occupy a diverse habitat types from the tropical to the temperate regions. They can occur in open grassland and in dense rainforests, and from mangrove to apex of mountains. Their life cycle comprises of 4 stages: the egg, the larvae, the pupa, and the adult. Most of their lifetime are spent as the predatory larvae, preying on invertebrates such as snails and slugs. So in Malaysia, there is actually 2 groups of fireflies that can be grouped based on their habitat and also their behavior. They are called the solitary fireflies and the congregating fireflies. Information of fireflies in Malaysia is more towards the congregating fireflies. However, the solitary fireflies, being more diverse in terms of their morphology, behavior and habitat requirements, are still less studied. Therefore, we need to understand them further. The alteration of the forest environment impact from logging could influence the biodiversity of fireflies. Listed here are the possible impacts of logging towards the fireflies, which include availability of leaf litter, availability of understory plants, and also light penetration due to the decrease in canopy closure. So studying biodiversity across elevational gradients will allow us to do a rapid assessment of organism biodiversity in various habitats. Because of the nature of the elevation gradients with its compact environmental and geographical variation, this habitat provides a platform to increase our knowledge on the biodiversity pattern, the drivers, and its drivers more rapidly. Fireflies are known to occur at low elevations of various habitat types, but information of the species along the elevation and at the higher point of the elevation is still limited. The research approach for this study comprised of day and nighttime sampling of the fireflies in forests recovering from timber extraction and also forests across elevational gradients. In the study site, we collected fireflies and habitat characteristics were recorded, and the analysis of data comprised of statistical analysis of the records that were made in the field. So 2 focal study sites were sampled for fireflies, One is along elevational gradient and the other one is in secondary forest that had experienced logging. And from these two data sets, that with the replicated sampling, it captured much of the habitat variety of the wet tropical forest in Malaysian landscape. So when it comes to the sampling and recording, the method that was used in the field were active search method to collect the specimens of fireflies, and habitat characteristics were also recorded, and the 4 key characters of the habitat are selected because it is hypothesized to influence the firefly distribution and abundance. So all statistical data analysis were conducted using the R program according to specified statistical packages. And the findings that was found from the study is that when it comes to the elevational gradients, the fireflies were found to be distributed within the certain ranges of the elevation. This, with them distributed across the elevation, habitat loss could primarily be the concern for their conservation, as more lowland forests are being degraded for logging or for converting into other human landscapes. And for those species that are restricted to the uppermost section of the mountains, therefore they are probably having dispersal limitation and also could be threatened by climate change. It was also found that firefly species richness is increased with canopy cover, and firefly species richness decline as the distance away from the primary forest. This means that nearby primary forests may provide a spillover of species into neighboring log-over forests, thus promoting better species recovery. When comparing between the once and twice log forests effects on the firefly diversity, it was found that the species richness of firefly in the twice log forest is significantly lower than forests that have been logged only once. It was found that 12.78 species estimated to be occurring in once log forest, while only 7.16 species estimated to occur in twice log forest for the fireflies. So from this study, we were able to discover, besides the information that we had for the logged and the elevation, we also managed to discover 70 new species record to Peninsular Malaysia and 5 new to science. And independent of elevation or time since logging, actually the characteristic of canopy closure and leaf litter depth and also the presence of water bodies are effective habitat parameters to be measured in relation to firefly diversity. And finally, proximity to primary forests could aid in firefly species recovery of habitats that have experienced disturbance. When it comes to the implication of this study towards the governmental policy, with the information that we got from this work, where we discovered new species, for example, and increased the record of firefly species in Malaysia, it shows that we need to continue to understand the status and trends of our country's natural habitat, and this can be done via documentation and assessment, which is also forms a part to support the country's sustainable development goal agenda. And based on this study, where it was found that the species richness significantly decreased in areas that have been logged more than once, there may be a need to review the system of logging to ensure that the sustainability of the biodiversity in our forests are maintained. And finally, as fireflies are charismatic insects due to their ability to emit light, they can become a flagship species to promote awareness, and their presence in given habitat could form a basis to protect the habitats that they occur in. Indirectly, Their protection also protects other inhabitants in the area, thus enhancing conservation efforts of the nature. Thank you.